I consider myself to have a generally well-rounded taste in media, especially when that comes to video games. I play games of pretty much all genres, even if that does mean the only sports games I play have plumbers and gorillas in them. But out of all genres, fighting games have just never really been able to click with me for some reason. And for most of my life, this wasn't really a problem. I didn't really know anyone else who played fighting games, so I was perfectly content to just sit in my own happy little bubble away from it all. But then I went to university, and now it feels like all of my friends play fighting games. Now, to be fair, fighting games aren't the only things that my friends play, and we do still play other video games together. But I would still occasionally feel like I was missing out. Every now and then a new fighting game will come out and they'd all just be sat in a Discord call, sharing tech, having matches against each other and just generally having fun, discovering all the new options that game has. Meanwhile, I would just be sat on my own in the little corner, playing my stupid baby games for little babies. Now, over the years I had considered giving fighting games a second shot, but like a lot of people, I found them to be weirdly intimidating. Like, motion inputs are weirdly difficult to wrap your head around at first, at least they were for me. And I wasn't entirely confident that I wanted to spend full price on a video game that I knew for a fact there was a very good chance I just wouldn't really enjoy. Now sure, I love Super Smash Bros. I've got hundreds, possibly thousands of hours put into Ultimate, but Smash Bros. Controls very different and plays very different to pretty much every other fighting game on the market, at least traditional fighting games. There's a reason it's called a platform fighter and not just a fighting game. It controls very much like a platformer, and platforms are very much an integral part of that game. Fighting games, for the most part, are just a flat stage. The only real difference between stage is the vibes. Luckily, over the past few years, fighting games have been having a bit of a renaissance. We've had some fantastic games from long-established series that have refined their gameplay to such fine degrees, and they've also been working to make the genre a lot more accessible to newcomers, with things like new control schemes for characters and more in-depth training and tutorial tools. But there was one specific game that caught my eye above everything else. It's the latest in Arc System Works' long-running Guilty Gear franchise. Having released all the way back in 2021, enough of a scene exists for Strive that I wasn't going to run into much trouble actually looking for people to practice against. Sure, it's not the biggest or most active it's ever been, but it's active enough that I'm not really going to have much difficulty finding matches online. Now, before actually settling on Strive as the game I wanted to play, all that I really knew about Guilty Gear as a whole was that it has some of the best art direction I've ever seen in my life. Like, seriously, look at this shit. It's incredible! So why did I choose this over every other option I had? This is Testament. Testament uses they-them pronouns. This is about 90% of why I bought the game. That's not even a joke I wrote for the script, that is genuinely what sold me on Guilty Gear. I looked at Testament, they're cool, they're hot, they got a big scythe, they like bubble bath, they like tea, and they use they-them pronouns. And I was sold instantly. I have to play as Testament. Anyway, Testament is primarily a zoning character, which means that their intended game plan is to keep your opponent at a distance and occasionally closing in for combos or heavy damage. What I found really helpful about learning Testament though is that all of their command inputs are just quarter circles, which are probably one of the easiest to consistently execute. So now I've settled on a character. Okay, fine. That's the easy part. Now I have to actually learn how to play the game. Now, Strive has kind of a weird tutorial mode. The tutorial itself just gives you an incredibly basic overview of how the game flows. If you want to learn how to actually play the game, like really play the game, not just hit buttons, then you'll want to head over to the game's mission mode. Each mission here is designed to teach you how to do just something during a match, and to complete each mission, you will need to be able to do that something 3 out of 5 times. Now these range from things just as simple as blocking in different ways or doing a crouch punch, all the way to more advanced character-specific combos, some of which are so advanced that despite spending hours trying to land it, I couldn't even do it once. It's genuinely a really useful tool to get you to grips with what options you have and when you should use them. It's just really weird that it's called mission mode. I get why, because of the mission structure. It's just, what other game's mission mode is an advanced tutorial section? Like, it's like, I get it, but it just doesn't make sense. But it does make sense. It's weird, it's confusing, but it works. So at least there's that. And of course, there's also your standard training mode for you to experiment around with, practice your combos, but despite the confusing name, mission mode was the most useful thing for me as a newcomer to the genre. After mission mode, the thing that probably helped me the most was just that I do have a friend group who are willing to help me learn how to play fighting games. They're willing to just play some matches against me, help me figure out my strengths, my weaknesses, and when we find out those weaknesses, help me work on them, help me improve. But not everybody has that option. Not everybody has a friend group who plays fighting games. But there are other solutions. Dustloop is the wiki for all fighting games developed by Arc System Works. Guilty Gear, your Dragon Ball FighterZ, your BlazBlue, they're all here. And it's here that you can find so much information about each character and how to play them in each individual game. This includes things like your general tips, your matchups, your combos, and just so much general information to help you figure out how to play each and every character effectively. But you still need ways to practice, and sometimes you need a live person to really help focus on specific things. And luckily, at least when it comes to Strive, Dustloop has a Discord server set up for each individual character, so that people who play the character, who like the character, or if you're just curious about learning the character, can all just meet in one place and discuss things, can learn new tech, learn what not to do in certain matchups. And at the time of this recording, I can at least say that the Testament Discord is fairly active, it's fairly welcoming, and it's just full of people ready and willing to help you learn the character. I didn't really look at any of the other character Discords yet, but if they're anything like this, then I really only have positive things to say. And it was around this point that I'd kind of figured out what fighting games are all about, and that's learning. The whole time you're playing, you're constantly learning the game. Not just how to play your character, but also how to play with your character against different characters, learning the matchups, and that accounts for new players as well, because every single player is gonna have different strengths, different weaknesses, and that's gonna change with every single one, no matter what character they're using. And you have to constantly be learning, constantly adapting to it. And it's just so much fun. The best matches in Strive turn into this constant back and forth between you and your opponent, as each of you is trying to figure out what the other one is going to do next, and then how you should react. But then if you don't respond how they think you're going to respond, then they have to react to that, and you have to react to their reaction, and it makes it so that you want to pop off when someone else beats your ass, because they did it with the most galaxy-brained option they had. And eventually, with a willingness to learn and an understanding of the characters, you start making those galaxy-brained plays too. Admittedly, I did get quite lucky in that I was instantly drawn to a character that I meshed with really well. But even before factoring in DLC and season passes, there are a lot of characters, at least in Strive, so there's almost always going to be one that clicks with you. And by now, yeah, I'd say I'm pretty confident with playing Testament. I'd say they've clicked with me really well. Over the course of making this video, I started playing Testament in Ranked. I did my placement matches, ended up in Bronze 3, which is one of the lowest ranks. It's not the lowest, but it's one of the lowest. And at the time of recording this, I'm currently sitting in Silver 2, which isn't the most impressive. Sure, it's not even one of the higher ranks, but that's a considerable improvement. And it feels really good to have been able to see that improvement happening naturally. And so now I'm pretty comfortable with Testament. I've started learning another character, Mei. Mei is very different from what I know. For one, Mei uses charge inputs, and that's something I've never really had to do before. So I'm having a little bit of difficulty getting used to some of that, but it's fun. It's back to the start of the learning process, and it's a process I've come to enjoy a lot. Trying out new characters also highlighted to me one of the best parts about fighting games as a whole, and that's the characters themselves. A fighting game lives and dies by its characters, and rightfully so. They are the core of the game, not just in how they play, but also how they're presented. A character's personality and how that's expressed is so integral to their appeal. Just look at me with Testament. I decided I wanted to play them before I even knew anything about how they actually played. But they're cool, they're suave, they're confident, and that spoke to me. And that extends to the rest of their animations too, especially their supers, which are a full-on display of everything that character is about. And when these displays, these celebrations of each individual character is so paramount to the game itself, yeah, it's difficult not to appreciate them. And again, this extends to the whole genre, not just Guilty Gear. Look at Ryu, Chun-Li, Terry Bogard, Scorpion and Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat. They all look so distinct, but as soon as you just look at them in their idle pose, you learn so much about them. And that learning continues as you watch them fight. Fighting games as a whole just have so much unique style to them. The visuals, the characters, the UIs all just ooze creativity and refinement. And I haven't even begun to talk about audio yet. Every sound, every move, every hit, every menu option just feels so meaty, and I love it. The sound design in fighting games goes such a long way to making everything feel so much better. And I haven't even mentioned the music yet. Fighting games historically have almost always been known for their OSTs. Street Fighter 2's entire soundscape is so absurdly iconic, but then you throw in new distinct flavours like Tekken's more electronic sounds, Guilty Gear's dad rock, and whatever the fuck Marvel vs. Capcom 2 has going on.
Select your heroes.
And you have such an amazingly diverse collection of top-tier soundtracks. You could listen exclusively to fighting game music for the rest of your life and you would never get bored. And now I'm at a point where I have started playing other fighting games. Some of my friends have recently started playing Virtua Fighter 5, in preparation for the new entry in the series, which is being developed by the team behind the Yakuza games. And I've also tried out 2XKO, which is the new League of Legends fighting game, which doesn't really use any command inputs for its gameplay at all. Some directional attacks, but that's as complicated as its controls get. At the time of me recording this, 2XKO is still in early access, but if its concept is executed properly, I can see it becoming one of the best entry points for newcomers to the genre. So, whilst I don't think fighting games are ever going to be my favourite genre, I definitely see the appeal a lot more now. It's the same as when you get better at literally any other skill, except fighting games have a stylish, competitive edge to them, which just adds so much more excitement. So I'm absolutely going to be playing more fighting games in the future. I really can't wait to get my hands on Marvel Tokon. And if you've had similar issues to me and you found yourself bouncing off of fighting games several times in the past, now really is the best time to give it another shot. Just have some patience, be willing to learn, and I think you'll find yourself, at the very least, really appreciating what this genre has to offer.